I'm Kaela.
I'm Adam.
And this is Lucy the Luck Dragon.
She's a 1991 Chevy G30, or like a handicap conversion. And we tore her down to her bare bones and did this to her. Somebody before we got our hands on it had started converting it, so this hole in the roof was already cut out, but they'd put a big metal plate. We ripped that out and put our fan in instead. There was like a bed and a shelf here just like we have here, but a bit different. We literally tore out all of the walls he put up. Like everything here we basically built from scratch.
With literally no carpentry experience ever beforehand.
Yeah, we learned as we went. Definitely things that we would do differently if we started doing it now. Pretty nice deep sink we got from Lowe's, because we've seen all the ones online, people who've basically just taken salad bowls and drilled a hole through the bottom of them, and we're like, we don't want that.
We want some space to wash dishes and stuff too.
Yeah, and this guy's just a pump sink, so it's just your classic hand pump. Lots of people have it. Saves the need for powering your sink. Under here we keep our stuff like our butane for our stove. We've got our gray water here and our clean water here. We've just got a little tube at the back there going up to the guy here. And we've got all of our cleaning supplies like our detergent for washing clothes, cleaning stuff. These guys are held in place with straps that are fastened to the back of the cabinet. Next over here we've got our fridge. This guy was a little bit more recent because the original fridge that we got ran constantly and that took too much power.
Yeah, we had one of those little Coolatrons that they use for like truckers and stuff, and it's like DC, and it literally would just run constantly. It wouldn't cycle itself, so it was like pulling all our power out within like a couple hours as soon as the sun went down.
So we switched to this guy. It cycles properly. When it's cloudy, we have to be a little bit more cautious with using it because it does still drain a lot of power, but it turns itself off when it's at temperature. Then just above this guy we've got our rack for our cutlery, our spices, just our miscellaneous odds and ends. Basically your junk drawer and your cutlery drawer all mixed into one is just all of our dishes. We've got our plates and bowls and stuff. We've got cups here as well as our kettle, which are all falling over. That's fine. We've got all of our pots and pans down at the bottom there. This countertop was just
It's like a linoleum top.
We have these lovely lights in the roof here. They are set into the roof. We love them. And we also have these guys here. We originally intended on building a shelf out right here and just having these on top of it there, so that way we could turn on with the switch right there, and then we'd have a nice overhead light for whatever cooking we're doing. We haven't built the shelf yet.
So because the handicap top was installed by the guy who owned it previously, so it was just like installed kind of amateurishly, the shelf, it's like this weird lip here, and we couldn't figure out how to get the wall to flow all the way up. So he ended up coming with the idea of taking like 2x1s, and he bolted them all together on the back, and then they're attached to the studs in the fiberglass roof.
Yeah.
By brackets, and then literally just held on by tension onto this beam here.
Yeah.
So the idea of putting weight on it is like just terrifying now. Our kind of center focus is the bed. We wanted something really big and cozy. I have friends that want to travel with us, like take trips with us and stuff, and we didn't want to build like bunks. We figured like if we had a bed big enough, we could just like have people in it. It also, when we have the table fixed, it can seat like 7 around because it's a horseshoe shaped couch.
Yeah.
So there's like these 2 boxes here on either side, and then there's one on the back, and the table just sits in between, and that's what we lay on, and it's just supported by wood beams. So eventually, we haven't found a stand for the table that we like yet, but we'll have a stand that we can just like pop the table on and then just like sit the entire perimeter of the van here. We can have people sitting, and I can make dinner for people and have guests and entertain. And then the boxes that on all 4 corners of the bed are also storage. So that's where we keep everything right now. It's solar powered, so that's where we hired an electrician, and that was kind of a mistake because we discovered once we spent several $1,000s on an electrician that we didn't really have the money for. Our general understanding of how solar works was correct. And he just kind of like, he built it like it was a house. So it's very crazy. A lot more like fail safes and stuff than we necessarily needed. And then he told us like we couldn't build a box around it because it was going to get too hot. And that was one of our things. We're like, oh, we don't need heating solution then. Like, if that's going to get hot, that'll heat the van. It's a small van. No, we have had no heat come off of this thing. And we're eventually going to build a box around it because it's just ridiculous. And it's ugly and gross. But,
plus more space for, like, more counter space as well. So we can put stuff on top of it. And
instead of just going online and buying, like, the bare minimum of what we needed, we dealt with people who normally deal with, like, big projects. And they're like, oh, you need all this stuff and, like, this and that and the other thing. And we're, like, so overwhelmed. And then discovered in the end that, like, we've got buddies who live in a van that we park with that they're like, yeah, we just plugged the thing into A into B and it was all good. And we're like, so that was a lot of wasted money.
Yeah, literally their setup is solar panels to charge controller to inverter. No, to batteries to inverter.
Yeah.
So all of the power comes from our solar panels on the roof. We've got 200-watt solar panels, and that comes down to this guy right here. This is our charge controller. Lots of heat sinks, probably more than we need, but it works just fine. All of our DC stuff is connected to this fuse box right here. We've got little labels on them too that you can't really read very well, but this is for stuff like the overhead lights, the strip lights. Our batteries are also connected to our inverter. This is for all of our AC drawing stuff, which is just our outlets really, and our new fridge, because that's connected to the outlet behind there. It's got an outlet on the front end here and like a little face here. This guy right here is a thing that he helped us set up, which I am actually very grateful for this one here. It's a relay switch that changes the power that we draw from whenever we're plugged into shore power. So when we plug in, it physically switches the lines that we're drawing from the house. The house doesn't recharge our batteries for us, but it gives the solar a chance to without drawing from the batteries. And then once we unplug it, it switches the line back to drawing from the batteries.
And then the batteries are just two 200 amp hour marine batteries that we got from Nanaimo.
They're both 6 volts, so we had to wire them in series to bump them to 12.
It's rigid foam under all the walls, and then Reflectix for the rest. Mm-hmm. I was told by so many people that Reflectix would be sufficient. It is not.
Nope.
In the future, we would definitely take the space to go slow and take our time, because there was a lot of things we were like, well, this is what people are telling us we should do, so let's do it. And then learning afterwards that, no, that wasn't the right way to go about things.
It definitely gets cold in here, but when more than half of your home is a bed with a nice thick cover, it doesn't matter too much.
And luxuries of 2 people living in a van too, right? Like, we both get to, we just share body heat and, burn candles during the evening when we're making dinner or whatever, and then, like, cuddle up right away and just, like, share body heat.
Yeah. We've been having troubles with moisture in the overhead compartment because there isn't anything on the walls in there. So we get lots of moisture up on the walls. I had to throw out a blanket that was in there because it was not pretty. But we just got this today, and hopefully this will solve some of our problems. It just collects moisture and drips it down into this little bucket here. We toss it out, or we dump it before we go driving. Part of the reason why we're trying to deal with the whole moisture situation first is not just because of moisture damage, but also if we can reduce or completely get rid of our moisture problems, then we can use wet heat solutions like the propane heaters. And we do have a little like clay pot candle setup. We don't like to use it too much just because all that is wet heat and it makes the condensation so much worse.
So a lot of people, when they kind of look into this lifestyle, they just assume that most people living in vans will work remotely, and they're kind of curious about that. But you two are both going to be working normal jobs. Can you talk a little bit about what that will be like, living in a van and working normal jobs?
I don't see it much different than just working a normal job if you're living in a normal house, because you have your house and you have your stuff in your house, and then you just go to your job.
We just have the added convenience of, like, there are days where if we need to, we can take our home with us, It's a really nice luxury of, like, we go out for drinks with coworkers after work. We can park our home downtown and just, like, crawl into bed after and don't have to worry about paying for a cab to get home or anything. We just crawl into bed and go sleep.
And fingers crossed that we don't get knocks before, like, 6 in the morning,
but
7 in the morning.
We haven't really had a ton of issues with that, and for the most part, like, I just find it really is no different than going to work normally. And it's allowed us the freedom to work on art instead of working full time, which is really nice, and be able to focus on the things like we actually enjoy rather than just like working. I mean, I was working 2 jobs before we moved into the van, so it's really nice to be able to cut that down.
A lot of people narrow their scope of their job search down to near where they live in a stationary home. For us, we still like to do that because we like the area down here. But if need be, we could potentially go elsewhere for work as long as both of us found jobs out there. It's basically like moving to a new apartment, but you just bring the apartment with you.
What do you think are the biggest obstacles or difficulties that you face living in a van?
Whole lot of anything. I know that the go-to that most people bring up is going to the bathroom, but we've really had no trouble with yet with just using public bathrooms. Like, there's park bathrooms that are open between like 8 and 8, and that usually gets us by just fine. Starbucks is open until like 9:30, most of them. So
most pubs, if you're nice, they'll let you use your bathroom. Just like, don't look like a creep and just announce yourself.
Hotels too.
Yeah, hotels are awesome.
They're open all the time. You can just walk in and be like, hey, can I use your bathroom?
I think the biggest issue was when the van breaks down. Like, that's a big fear.
Yep.
We had a breakdown about a week ago for the first time, and it broke down on the Johnson Street Bridge, and it was super stressful. And all I could think of, like, if the van isn't fixed today, we're literally homeless. Like, we have nowhere to go. And it was fixed. We lucked out, but we're also blessed to still be in our home community, and we still have friends and we still have family, and like, worst case, we crash on my mom's couch for a night. You know, it's not the end of the world. It's just like, it's stressful.
That and internet is a little bit of a struggle because, I mean, most people don't take it with them.
But we have like a little portable Wi-Fi puck.
Yeah.
So it's like $120 a month Canadian. It's like $100 US, and it gives us unlimited 4G data, and it's slow. Like, it's not like your home Wi-Fi.
It's slow when two people are using it when you're bordering between roaming and local cell towers. But when we're like in town, it seems to work pretty. Like the other day, we were further up into town, and we were both just streaming YouTube, and everything was fine.
And the flip side of that, what do you think are the biggest benefits of living in a van?
Freedom.
Yeah, definitely the freedom.
Community. We always have people around us.
Plain and simple, like I said earlier, I was able to quit my job, and I have been working for like a month now, and I don't feel stressed about money. It
was great. We took a month off, and we focused on, like, because we're both photographers, we focused on that and like hustled that, and had time to go hiking and spend time with friends and family. I had surgery at the end of September. I wasn't stressed out about like not working for 2 weeks or whatever. Just really, it's very freeing. We went to Salt Spring in August, and we came back home and we were like, we could just move to Salt Spring. Like, we don't have to necessarily keep living in Victoria. We can just go wherever we want. As long as there's work, we're fine.
And that realization that for us, moving to Salt Spring or moving somewhere else doesn't mean this whole big process of getting a moving truck, moving all your stuff over, finding a place over there, making sure that you have a job lined up, everything like that. We can literally put Lucy on a ferry, drive over, and live off the funds that we have until we find a job. We don't have to do all this extra preparation because it's already all prepared in here. It's all with us. So we do have certain things in place to help ourselves basically just stay stealthier. First of all, it's a plain white cargo van. It doesn't look like anybody's living in it. The high top is so high that it's hard to see the vent and the solar panels unless you're looking for it. It just kind of looks like a roof rack. And then also what we've got is these light strips are RGB. So if we really want to be sneaky, we turn these overhead lights off and we turn this guy to pure red. And then
you can't see anything.
We
can see in here, but you would not know that there were people in here inside.
Would you recommend this lifestyle to somebody? And if so, what type of person would you recommend it to?
Someone who's willing to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
I've definitely had girlfriends and friends and family, when we told them we were doing this, like, oh, that's so cool. I would love to do that. And I'm like, okay, but you know what you're sacrificing when you do that, right? Like, that was something for us. We went into this knowing that, and I think that's why there weren't a lot of challenges. Anyone who's willing to, do the research, do the work, and realize that it's not easy. Like, it's amazing and it's freeing and it's fantastic, but it is difficult, It is scary sometimes when you hear people outside your van at 2 a.m. and you're in a dark parking lot all alone. Like, you're in here. Do they know you're in there? Are they going to come try and rob you or whatever? Like, it is there are anxieties to it and there are stressors. We're already dirty hippies. We don't really, like, we shower twice a week at that, you know. It wasn't a big sacrifice to not have a shower accessible. It just forced me to go to the gym 2 times a week.
It's not that hard to do for us because I think we looked at all of the sacrifices that had to be made to go into it, and there's so many people that you talk to that are like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I could never do this, I can never do that, I can never do blah, 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 blah. And basically, I think just the kind of people that I would recommend this to are the people that you start explaining it to them, and when you bring up that kind of stuff that like other people would say that they could never do that, and they're just sort of like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, like minimalism is something like when I say, oh, I got rid of all my books before I moved into my van, and people are like, oh, I couldn't do that. I'm like, there you go, there's your answer. Like, if you're attached to your material possessions, that's okay, that's fine. That doesn't make me more or less than you, or vice versa. But if that's not something that's within your comfort zone, then that's okay. That just means this lifestyle isn't for you.
And I mean, it also always helps to have places that you can store stuff that you can't bring into the van with you, whether you have like a storage locker somewhere or family or friends that you can leave stuff with. Makes it a lot easier because you see stuff like moving into the van. We did a bit, like, we both did big purges of all of our stuff, and there's like, you got your 3 piles. You got your going into the van, going into storage, and get rid of because nobody's ever going to use it ever again. Because I only have so much space in my parents' or friends' or storage locker or whatever place to store stuff. Is it worth the space it's going to take up?
My biggest thing is, like, for people who are curious about it, if you see it, come talk to us. Like, we're all the nicest freaking people. Mm-hmm. I love when people come up and want to, like, see inside the van and ask me about it.
Yeah, and there's a certain level of when you are doing this, you kind of have to be a little bit open. Because you always have people walking by, you always have people peering in your windows and everything like that, which is what these are for.
Yeah, like, if you're curious, just come say hi. Like,
yeah,
we don't bite, and I think that would really change the stigma around it, especially people who do it intentionally.
And then if anybody wants to follow along on your journey, where can they find you?
One that's mostly centric around it is our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, Witch and Weirdo. Witch, Weirdo. That was the idea behind it. It's a little cheesy, but that's okay.
We're the only thing that comes up if you search Witch and Weirdo, so it's pretty easy. Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Forrest. Thank you so much for watching that video. Please hit like and subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Right below me right now is a playlist of a whole bunch of videos I've done on alternative dwellings, vans, sailboats, tiny homes, all sorts of good stuff. So go ahead and click that link and continue watching. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week. I upload every single Monday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.